This episode is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Pazant Building Products. Pazant Building Products has been providing contractors and builders with the supplies necessary to complete their jobs since 1964. They have built a reputation of honest, helpful, and quality service, serving the HRM for the last 58 years, now with 7 locations in Nova Scotia and 1 in New Brunswick. Our team at Atlantic Construction Podcast is extremely excited to announce our new co-branded partner, Procore. Procore is the global leader in construction management software. We'll be conducting several podcast episodes with Procore users and construction companies across the country in 2023, among many other things. Stay tuned. We're excited. Welcome back to the Atlantic Construction Podcast. Very excited and honored to have EllisDon Corporation with us today, Atlantic Division. We've got Travis Rudolph, Chief Estimator, and Shaun Stiles, Senior Vice President. Gentlemen, thank you. Thanks for coming in. Give us your time today.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
Shaun, you were saying you're a native of New Brunswick, UNB grad.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your early journey.
So I graduated civil engineering at UNB in 2003.
So you had construction picked back then, did you?
I was always kind of doing summer construction jobs, and I won't say they were engineering jobs. They were everything from being on a survey crew with the city to laying water and sewer pipe, whatever.
So family influence there too, like there's a lot.
Not really. I have an older brother. I have an identical twin brother who's an engineer, same as me, works for Irvingall, and then I have an older brother who was with the competition for a while at Pomerleau. So we all did kind of the engineering route. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of happened naturally, and civil was kind of cool. So graduated from there, and back then you couldn't find jobs. You had to either go kind of out west or
be 2000 around there. So.
2003. Yeah. So I headed to Boston with a lot of UNB grads and kind of worked the tail end of the great big dig that was going on. The big dig, I should say. And built a wastewater treatment plant, kind of came up through field engineer up through the superintendent ranks for 4 or 5 years before.
That's got to be quite an experience working on a wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah. It was a big one too. It was about $100 million. So I started out as a field engineer, laying out formwork.
$100 million back then.
Right.
Yeah.
So factor in inflation there.
Yeah, it was a good job to really cut your teeth on and get in the industry. So
nice.
Yeah, and then headed back here. So the opportunity came to EllisDon, and I kind of jumped on it.
Been here ever since.
Yeah. So.
And Travis, yourself, you're a native of Pictou County.
I call Pictou home. Yeah. Grew up just outside, but different path than Shaun took to get here. I think my first life goals were to kick soccer balls and bounce basketballs.
Yeah.
So did the recreation first, and then
when did you know that wasn't working out?
Was there There's a good inside joke at this, but I have to edit it out.
Maybe it's a similar answer that I think that the jobs and the salary wasn't there.
Right.
But I'd spent some time in hospitality, and then after a while, kind of heard about. Well, I've always had an interest in construction.
Sure.
But didn't think it was going to be a lifelong thing. And then in the late 90s, I went back to community college and took the construction administration technology.
And NSCC, was that?
NSCC,
yes. Okay.
Yep. And since then, kind of after that, kind of bounced around for the first couple of years or first few years of on-site or coordinator work, and then got into some little residential. And then for the last, I'm going to say 18, 19 years, been estimating. Kind of started with some sub-trades, did some flooring, did some drywall.
Okay. And
then after that, it's been with a couple of big generals for the most of my career.
Right.
And EllisDon's been treating me well ever since.
Yeah. So it's 10 years now you've been at EllisDon.
Almost 10 years with EllisDon,
yeah. Travis is 10 and I'm coming on to my 17th. So
wow.
We both
some veterans here.
Yeah. Exactly.
So at what point, because you have your PQS designation, right? Do you both have PQS? Do you have it though, right, Travis?
That and my gold seal, yeah.
So was that like part of EllisDon internal, like education-wise? That was a personal choice.
I think personal choice for sure. It's one of those things that I was involved when there used to be like a Nova Scotia chapter of the Corner Surveyors, and was heavily involved with that on education, just a member at large, and then before it ended, vice president for a couple of years. But at that time, when I got into it, it was more personal choice because I found with the CQIS it was more of a kind of a broader education.
Right.
People hear it and they think, oh, just estimating. But when you're going through it to get your designation, where it focuses on economics, contracts, law, scheduling, planning, it's a much more broader
Right.
scope than, say, if I was to compare it to like the Gold Seal, which is a great designation as well.
Through the association, the Canadian Construction Association.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So the Gold Seal is you're an estimator, just very strict on the estimating. But I find the CIQS, the PQS designation is much more broader. So for me, I think if an estimator brought it to the table, I know they're a well-rounded estimator. They can think outside the box, thinking
Right.
of planning, scheduling, economics, law, contracts, a bit of everything. It's
Right.
great.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. You both come from an estimating background,
Mm.
as you know, as senior, as chief estimator now with EllisDon Atlantic, and then Shaun yourself, senior vice president. But you were a senior estimator there for a while as well, right?
Yeah, and it's funny. So I kind of, I was always in the field when I was in Boston, and my boss at the time called me into the office when we were finished one project, moving into another one to just help him out with another estimate. So I did end up in the office for a bit, helping them out, and I was looking for work and stuff like that around to try to come back to Canada, wherever it was, and I got turned on to someone that was looking for a new estimator with field experience, right? A younger
Right.
estimator that he could kind of mold into to being an estimator. So that's how I ended up in it, and just kind of moving my way up to it. But my intent was probably to be a superintendent if I was going anywhere.
Right. This was an inroad, right?
Yeah. So, but it's
I think that was me back in
Yeah.
school. It was like never had the intention of being behind a desk all day. It was like get some certification, go out on site, be a super, be a
Yeah.
PM,
Yeah.
all that. And then
Yeah.
as I get older and the kids and stuff kind of changes your views.
Sure.
It was like you get to the office, you see the hours, and it's like, this isn't too bad. I can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going to the same place every day for the most part. I mean, there's like
Consistency.
stuff too. But
Yep.
consistency. Yeah.
It's great. Yep.
It's interesting though. I was probably the first chief estimator, I think, to get promoted to a VP area manager job with
Yeah, it's-
EllisDon.
It's a different route that you took, isn't it?
Yeah, but now we have
Three?
London's chief estimator is now running London, Toronto Civil,
Oh yeah.
Calgary. So now there's
4 years.
4 chief estimators that moved into that role.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
I think it's interesting too. Like to pick your brain about estimating. You know, Shaun, you mentioned they wanted an estimator with some field experience.
Yep.
I think a lot of subs put a lot of high value on that. Someone who has the intuition on the labor might be different from a general contracting standpoint. You have a 30,000-foot view. It's kind of a lot more contract work and
Yeah.
heavy down the data side. But what do you think makes a good estimator? I mean, you said PQS, that designation means a lot, right? I mean, if someone has
Oh.
that, you know,
The designation for sure is one thing, but experience trumps everything.
but experience trumps everything.
Yeah. And I think it's a catch-22 of, is it the estimator that comes from the field first, or is it the estimator starts an estimating and then goes to the field? But I think on both sides, I think younger people should have some estimating experience.
Mhm.
So when they go out in the field, they kind of see where the projects begin, how they're put together, and how they start.
Yeah.
And then kind of on the little more senior level, it's nice to have those people that have some site experience, because just what you said is like they have a better concept on labor and productivity and the kind of the general accounts, general conditions, the odds and ends, that kind of temporary works.
Yeah.
So that definitely helps.
yeah, it's not an easy job, that's for sure.
No, a lot of high stress, a lot of numbers, especially
Yeah.
you know, closing day and,
Yeah.
and tight deadlines, and
Yeah.
and you add materials and logistics and all these things.
Yeah.
And
Some guys, they thrive on like Shaun was saying, we don't do a lot of lump sum bidding, but we do some. And I know there's some guys, some estimators, they just love it. They said if it was closing day every day, it would be
Yeah.
perfect. It's
Yeah.
just high stress, busy, a lot of
yeah,
excitement.
and they thrive off that
Yeah.
environment.
But then other people, it's just they'll run away from that.
yeah,
That's
they
all.
got to be out on the site. They got to be.
Yeah.
But it's interesting too, because you might think, and you might have that aura about estimators, like from the site perspective, like. You know, you can mention you don't like to put people in boxes, but more introverted, more extroverted, depending on where you thrive, where you build your energy from. But
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things in estimating is communication, having the communication with the site, having opening channels with different kinds of people who are out there working labor or working
100%.
different kinds of people, right? Different
Yeah.
than. Would you guys agree with that? Like how important communication is, and how do you see that operating in EllisDon, Atlantic? As far as the communication between the estimators and the site supers and so on and so forth.
You want to start?
Oh, go ahead.
It's communication's key on every level, right? And like, especially when it's I'll start with the estimating side itself. Is you can come in as a junior, and there's that time where you got to put in your time of doing your takeoffs, making some calls, stuff like that. But if you want to promote and progress, you got to have that communication. You got to build the relationships with all your subs,
Yes.
with all your PMs, with all your supers, and to get to the next intermediate, senior, chief level, it's all communications.
Yeah.
Like say, Shaun and I probably don't do as much. He wouldn't have when he was chief or senior. You're
not doing takeoff at that point.
not
That's
doing
for
this-
sure.
No, it's more communication,
Yeah.
talking, meetings,
Yeah.
working things out,
Yeah.
and you have to have that. And it's a two-way street with the site people as well. You gotta commute with them, your own people, and then the subs that are out there as well. You gotta have those relationships, and it's all communications.
Yeah, we call them backroom estimators, right? We were never backroom type estimators, like on the phone talking to the subs and building those relationships with the owners and everything else.
Yeah.
That's a pet peeve of, and maybe I think it's every company has that. It's like, well, did you talk to Dan? It's like, yeah, well, I sent him an email. It's like, no. Did you pick up the phone and
I'm
actually
shaking
talk?
my head because I can
Yeah.
totally relate.
Did you talk to him or
Yeah.
take him out to lunch or have something? Like
Yeah.
you don't get a relationship through an email or a text. It just doesn't happen.
No, that's right. And it means a lot too for the subs to be, asked out to have a lunch if you're working on a big project. I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about, often several millions of dollars and maybe a few years of your life, committed to this. Like,
that's some-
maybe we'll
some-
have lunch and have a chat.
Yeah.
And the good thing about us with our company and the type of projects we do too, it's kind of cool because we're always sitting at the table during early stages. So you're
Right.
sitting down with the owner and the design team and you have
Yes.
input on everything and you're kind of
Yeah.
rolling with the team. So it's a very team approached
Yep.
project approach most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Which makes it really more interesting. A lot of conceptual estimating, like you have to be a good conceptual estimator in what we
Right.
do.
And you got to have that repertoire of like experience. Maybe I remember when the guys from, I think it was Lauren from Pomerleau was talking about, we have sheets from jobs like that. We've
Yeah.
done 5 wastewater treatments across the country.
Yeah.
So we're not scared to price this one because it's going to fit somewhat into this mold that we already have.
You got
It
your
might be a little
historical
bit-
data, your
Yeah.
past projects, draw from them. Yeah.
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 And that ties in, Shaun, to what Travis was saying earlier. You got, you don't see EllisDon, at least in Atlantic, doing a lot of lump sum.
No, exactly.
That's obviously part of the business model, and you're there kind of at the entry point in the design phase,
Exactly.
building those relationships with the architects. And,
Yep. And design, build, and construction management are really our bread and butter here and what we like to do.
And does that, I assume that leads you into a lot more complex projects, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're not doing a lot of schools, basic builds and
No.
stuff like that.
No. Exactly. And I think the province is trying to lean towards. Correct me if I'm wrong, Travis, but we've seen a couple. They're not modified design build. IPD
Integrated.
alternate design build.
You got modified design build. You got integrated project delivery. They know the lump sum. I shouldn't say they know. I think lump sum is kind of, people are getting away from that to some extent.
Yeah, it's not the best for the stakeholders, and it's not the best for the subs involved, and it's not the best for really most parties
Exactly.
involved, right?
Exactly.
Anything that's collaborative, if it's P3 design build, and then however you mix that up to if it's integrative or collaborative anyway, the quicker you bring in the subs, your architects, the whole design team together, that's the better fit.
It's neat that you say that too, because like a lot of people that have been on our podcast in the industry, everyone's in the industry in some capacity, and all different. It could be an architect, could be a salesperson for an agency rep, GCs.
Yeah.
Collaboration just keeps coming up.
Yep.
It's just like a big shift, right? I mean, maybe say in the last 20 years, like the construction wasn't always so collaborative.
No.
Very kind of old school blue collar kind of mentality. Is okay if I think those are perfect terms to use, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
That's just what you said. Like,
But it's shifting from every level.
yeah, and I think EllisDon, what we bring to the table, we can't bring that to the table in the lump sum world that we were talking about earlier. Is when you bring all your added services, everything you can do, rather than lump sum, what's your one number, you don't have that chance to say, well, we can help with design, we can help with logistics, with schedule, whatever it might be.
Doesn't even fit the model. Like you have too good a value prop to even.
Well, you need
Different value prop at least.
You got to sell your services. You got to talk to the owner about that. Lump sum world is what's your number.
Yeah.
So doesn't.
So when EllisDon, what capacity were you involved with the Dal Arts Center here? Because did that open yet? The new
It's open.
It's
yeah.
open
Yep.
just recently though,
Yep.
right? A few months maybe.
It opened in.
Hand it over in the fall, right?
Yeah.
So this is a kind of a bit of a reno plus the addition,
Plus the
42,000
addition.
square feet, the new theater
Yep.
next to Rebecca Cohen and
Yep. It's,
So was that CM?
that was construction management. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And you were involved with the university kind of in the early phases, right? And 'cause
Absolutely.
I remember, I think I remember, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you may not remember this anyway, but it's because obviously this is a few years back, right?
Yeah,
For anyone
yeah.
listening and not in the industry, like it's sometimes it's
Yeah.
5-6 years, but it's even inception. But I remember like the retender, the second go around, eliminating a lot of this, which is typical for such a build with the sound and acoustics and panels. These are high cost items, and then might maneuver that around.
You're talking when it went out lump sum, and they canceled the lump sum and went out CM after that.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
because
how it went down.
one of the things that happened was they took a lot of the ceiling acoustics, or they didn't. They changed products, and you
Yep.
see that when it comes to a concert hall, right? Because
Yep.
I mean that those are the additives that come in that it just could be millions of dollars, and
Yep.
It's
but Leyden Lynch, right, was the architect there
Lion Lynch and was it Thomas Paine?
yeah, from Toronto.
from Toronto, right?
Yeah.
And that happens a lot, right, in these big projects.
Oh,
Yeah, you have the national firm, and then they have to engage someone locally, and
Yeah, Lion Lynch was a big player on that. That's for sure.
yeah.
And it's a pretty cool building. Like it
Oh,
may
yeah.
not look like much, but I shouldn't say that.
Well,
But-
inside
no,
it's
no.
going to
yeah,
look like
exactly.
a lot.
But
No, when you get in, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
acoustical.
Well, you say that because you can't tell
Yeah.
how how
Exactly.
eccentric or whatever the word is from the outside.
the structure being acoustically separated, like it was quite a bit.
Yeah,
a bit
there's more to it than meets the eye. That's
definitely
for sure.
that's what
Yeah.
Yeah, because like
See,
the whole auditorium kind of has a standalone type feature as for vibrations and music and sound and stuff like that.
where it's almost like freestanding from the rest of the
exactly.
space, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Kind of isolated for sound waves and that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
exactly, yeah. And it was nice there. Like we had the whole street for a couple of years building.
Work.
Yeah.
Work live across the
good.
street.
Oh yeah, that's right. And then Seymour with Work
Yeah,
Live.
yeah.
So the student housing,
Yeah.
kind of a different kind of project there, huh?
Yeah.
So I
totally
have
different.
I have a neighbor. My neighbor and my buddy works for Work Live. So
Oh, cool.
he was here in the city helping. When they opened, right, in the fall of 2022.
Yeah.
Because it was pretty
Yeah.
tight deadline there, right, to get all the students in. And so he was one of the guys that was giving them a hand with that.
That was,
Chris Cameron, I'll give him a plug. I'll give him a shout out.
That was a pressure cooker to get.
Yeah,
to
I've
get-
heard.
to get the students in, but you know
Made it
what?
happen.
We had a great team, field team on our side, and
Zap Architecture, is that right?
Zap, yeah. Joe and his team, and the Work Live team was great too. So
Yeah.
we all came together in the end and did the push, but it was down to the wire for sure.
Oh,
I can just
you
imagine.
can't give the
yeah.
site people enough props on that because they were incredible.
No,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for anyone that's not been involved in some of these big projects, when it comes to a building that's got a tight timeline of being open, what does that mean? Well, it means there's how many units were there? 160, 100.
there's 500 homeless students if we didn't get it. Open,
Exactly,
pretty much.
exactly. And like they're not, these are students that are not from here.
And that's just
most of them, right?
and they got nowhere else to go. Like
They got
that's
nowhere
it.
to
They're
go.
coming in.
Yeah, they're coming in the doors, whether
Yeah.
you like it or not.
That was another level of complexity. Like they
Yeah.
went in, and we were still doing stuff around them. Like it was impressive.
Yeah.
And that was all during COVID when when we were pricing and going through design and stuff. So there was a challenge there. We did it pretty quick, 24
Yeah.
months.
As if it's not complex enough.
Exactly. So you know what? The project turned out great. The building looks great too.
It does, yeah.
It
Yeah.
looks great, and the students get in on time, and
Yep.
it's a great one to have on a resume.
Yeah.
So,
And like you said, right across the street, two big ones for
Well,
Halifax.
We had that street blocked down for
Yeah.
over a year.
yeah.
And that Bears Lake Community Outpatients, a P3 project, first one in Nova Scotia. That's coming on the back end of
Yep.
completion, right?
Yep. So
Assuming.
it'll be open in the fall at some point, and our substantial completion is in August
On the construction
on the
side.
construction side, and then there's a bunch of stuff
Yeah, you guys really have your arms wrapped around that one, eh? With EllisDon Corp and the maintenance and
Yeah.
so on and so forth.
Yeah. Design, build, operate, finance, maintain.
Yeah. Other than design and architecture, everything was in house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was another good example. Like that was right from the get go, just when COVID was starting, through COVID, and kind of getting over the hump. Like even dealing with the province on how to deal with COVID as we were getting started. Everything about that was tricky.
That
But
closed during the height of the pandemic.
yeah,
Right. It
'Cause-
was-
Oh yeah.
yeah.
pursuit.
Yeah.
The pursuit was ongoing, and then the first case hit Canada, and then within a few months, it kind of came to the Maritimes,
Okay.
and just got worse and worse. And then trying to figure out how you deal with COVID to submit a price on it for such a long-term project. But it's, again, the site staff's been doing great, and it's coming along.
So as chief estimator, Travis, when you have a project like, let's use those three that we just talked about. So you have Seymour, you have a multi-res, student housing, still a steel structure though, right? I think.
Seymour?
Seymour? Was
Yeah.
it all wood frame? It was steel.
No, steel.
No, it
It's
wasn't
a
wood.
Can-Am.
Yeah. And then you have an art center with a theater, and you have a healthcare job in Bears Lake.
Yeah.
So for you, tell me, like, or tell us, you know, you've got your hands in all of those.
dabble
In some
in-
ways, you're dabbling in.
Travis dabbles in
Are you just
everything.
going to like whatever one is going worse so you can help, or are you
No,
going to
I'm-
whatever one's best so you
I'm-
can
I'm
stay
in
out
a-
of the bad ones?
No, I'm in a pretty lucky seat. Like, once it comes to life, and
Talk about variety though. Like,
a lot of variety, that's for sure. And like each project has a full team assigned to it. So once we get the
course.
contract,
Yeah.
and like the P3, you got people involved all along. Seymour, Dow. Once the site teams are set up, they're running that thing. They own it, and I'm just in the background. And each one usually has a senior estimator that's helping them out as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the site teams, they run it. We're just there to support when necessary. But variety of projects, 100%.
It is one thing, you know, being in the Maritimes. I say this a lot, actually. We've had to adapt, you know, especially when it's not busy. Like,
Yeah.
we look at everything, you know, if it fits the model. So we
Horse barn.
absolutely.
Yeah, that was the
We
guys
did-
from Iron Maple talking about
No,
first two jobs as
we
a
did
horse
a,
barn and a lobster.
We
did
did
one.
a feed.
Did you?
We
Yeah.
did a feed barn in Truro.
Yeah,
I was being serious,
At
but
the- at the
I was kind of joking too at the same time.
we
But
did
no.
it at the agricultural college for Dow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it.
Just before COVID, I think.
Yeah,
But since then, the market's so busy, you got to get your share. So you're bidding and looking at
Yeah,
everything.
you have to, right?
You don't.
You got to diversify or you can't
Yeah,
compete.
exactly. And maybe that's where we're kind of led into New Brunswick, like really focusing on a lot of work up there, and it's been working out for us. Like,
And that just recently, or maybe?
we've always kind of been there, you know, doing some, call it light industrial stuff. We did the Irving Oil home office in St. John as a joint venture with FCC
Okay.
for Irving Oil, which was a fantastic project. If you ever get a chance to get into that building, it's worth it. I mean, it's probably not easy to get in, but
drive by and
Tighter
look
than
in the front
Fort Knox
door.
up there.
Yeah.
it's quite a building. It's worth going to see.
Yeah, it is.
We just finished a school at Rossay Netherwood as well in the fall.
Okay.
And then some small stuff here and there. We're about to kick off the UMB Head Hall engineering building
There you
expansion.
go. That's gonna be a good one
I'm
for you.
finally coming back. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
Alumni.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So
But
go ahead.
I was going to say with that, so our New Brunswick office out of Moncton, so they look after all of New Brunswick, and then we're just fortunate enough to get a big project in PEI as well.
Yeah, the
So-
DVA.
DJM. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel J. McDonald, right?
Yeah.
Which is Department of Veteran Affairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, and then there's so much other stuff around to bid in New Brunswick. So hopefully that just grows and grows for us.
yeah.
yeah.
So you got lots going on in the different provinces.
Yeah,
right?
and I did forget to mention that we do have a satellite office in Moncton. So
Right.
right downtown across from City Hall.
Okay.
So we have a staff there that runs a bunch of different stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's growing.
Yeah, and the reason I asked about your position as chief estimator and kind of what that's like, just to extract a little bit about your position, your role, and how a company like EllisDon kind of operates with so many different complex jobs happening. So, Shaun, for you, is part of your role as a senior vice president, you're kind of looking at different projects that might be coming up and trying to free up guys that maybe have a lot more experience in healthcare. As a senior, as a site super, or maybe you got to hire somebody because that's lacking. Is that you're constantly looking ahead, right?
100,
Just to give our listeners context. Yeah.
100%. And
Yeah.
Travis is a part of the struggle as well, because I work with the senior team who are responding to these proposals, right? That, you know, when you respond to a hospital, they want a senior construction manager that's done $50 million over complex healthcare projects. There's not a lot of those people around.
Just isn't
Right. And
No.
and we're one of the biggest healthcare builders in the country, right? If not,
And then trying to convince those people that can match the resume to move to the Maritimes for 2, 4, 6 years. Sometimes a hard sell.
yeah.
And so you're able to look internally across the nation with EllisDon staff. Hey, you know, is anybody available?
Exactly.
That's the first step, I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Yeah.
If it's not found here in the East Coast, if
Exactly.
someone's not available.
And we've been successful in that. Like we've had, especially during COVID, we definitely had
Oh yeah.
a number of people move from BC,
Yeah.
Ottawa, Toronto. No one from Calgary, I don't think, but we've definitely had staff move this way, and some more coming actually this year as well. So there are staff looking for different opportunities in a more relaxed lifestyle, eh?
Exactly. I was gonna say on that.
Yeah,
What
good
was-
old relaxing
Yeah.
East Coast.
Oh yeah. Lobster for lunch every day.
Every day, cheap houses too, right?
Those good old commercials, eh? You just that's how you lure them here.
I know. House on the ocean,
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah. I was thinking it's a catch-22, like where we don't bid a lot of lump sum, where you're doing proposals a lot of the time. It's you need the project to get the staff, and you need the staff to get the project. So it's always that tricky part of who do you name in a proposal? How are you going to get them here? And then you're just being competitive on the proposal, but it's always that switch of what comes first, the project or the staff.
Yeah.
And you don't want these type of senior people sitting on the bench not working somewhere. So you need that high-end project to support them. It's tricky.
And then you're also competing against, we're working on 3 major hospitals in Ontario right now. So
Yeah,
you know,
healthcare across the country is crazy. It's busy,
Yeah.
busy everywhere.
BC, very busy.
Yeah, and that's so Cape Breton. There's healthcare stuff going, but you guys are at NS. You're not there, but you're at Bears Lake under the
For
healthcare.
healthcare, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Bears Lake and IWK emergency.
IWK, of course, yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're coming out of the ground there now in University Ave here in Halifax. IWK,
Yep.
new emergency.
Yep, beautiful project. Hopefully
Yeah.
another down there, another year or more, year and a half down there.
Yeah. And that's been a long time coming, eh? The addition, the emergency. I mean, they've been
On their side, yes.
Yeah, just because the increase in population and having the,
But I think every healthcare project, they realize it's probably they could use bigger. They're probably undersized for a lot of the projects that we're building now.
But that's part of a grander plan of all these, Bears Lake community outpatients, the emergency addition, it's all kinds of healthcare dollars.
Yep.
Cape Breton stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
The what I read in the last, and I don't have any knowledge about it, but you read about the Heart Center, the new rehab center, emergency in Dartmouth General, emergency in Cobequid. I think they were talking about a whole bunch of different transition to care facilities.
Ah.
So they're talking about a lot of healthcare coming up for sure.
It's great that it's happening, but it's unfortunate that's all happening at once for the labor force.
Yeah. Isn't that the case? Seems to be the case in construction from all levels.
100%.
You mentioned the labor shortage. Maybe a segue into the NSCC waterfront, Cape Breton. Tell me the proper name. It's eluding me at the moment, but
Sydney Waterfront
Sydney
Campus
Waterfront
Development.
Campus Development.
Yeah.
So that's supposed to be completed 2024. But one
Yeah.
of the reasons they're building that is to have more capacity, but also as a solution to the labor shortage, right? Because they're going to be training a lot of apprentices and whatnot.
Oh,
there,
exactly.
right? So that's kind of, that's a positive thing. It's not, we might not see the
100%.
benefits for a few years.
Yeah. And the good thing about that is, we are out ahead of the hospital construction really going on right now.
Yeah.
So we do have, we should be done before those projects really get going, right? So
So you can kind of circulate the team around.
Yeah.
That was a blessing because
Put the students in and start training them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So labor shortage is a big topic for everybody. We just came back. Our team was in Toronto for the Canadian Concrete Expo at the International Center last month. A lot of people talking about that there. A lot of contractors from across the country. The team at Procore talking a lot about that. And then everyone that's on, whether it's an architect or a subcontractor in landscaping or drywall or GC.
same complaint.
You guys obviously feel that in your roles. You feel it on the pressure from the projects. You feel it when you're putting proposals in for a job that's going to be the next 7 years. You have no idea where you're going to get site supers and PMs and with the right kind of experience. How big of a problem is it?
I'll let you start.
It's, I guess I'll talk about maybe just, on the PMs and super side, like it's very hard. We're all, there's a fair amount of general contractors in the Maritimes, and we all compete for the same talent.
Yeah.
And it's I've never seen anything like it. The amount of people we're interviewing, and if they come, if they don't come, and they got to be the right people too, right? So that's We can't
Yeah.
just take, you can't just
You
take
have to
whoever.
fit the culture.
You
too.
got to fit the culture, and they got to be there. They have to be the right people. So it's a challenge, and it's a full-time job for me and my team to find those right people for those jobs. Supers are really hard to find right now. Estimators, you're always looking for estimators.
Yeah.
And PMs, and I'm not sure what the fix is going to be. You kind of got to get, I talked to Dal engineering and UMB engineering quite a bit, and not just engineering and SCC and whatever, but just to get more people interested in construction and show them what it can be like.
Yeah.
It's not what it was 50 years ago. And it's a pretty interesting and cool thing to get into. So just try to get more people interested in the construction industry, right?
Quick shout out to the newest sponsor of the show, the Stone Depot. The Stone Depot is located in Bears Lake, Halifax, but serves all of the East Coast. The showroom over 8,000 square feet, perfect for masonry contractors, landscaping contractors, builders, developers. Regardless, the Stone Depot is a great option for you, whether you're doing fire pits, patio stones, kitchen and interior stones. So if you're looking for a great stone supplier, visit the Stone Depot. This episode is brought to you by Airtight Spaces. Airtight Spaces is Atlantic Canada's first authorized aero barrier dealer. They help create comfortable, healthy, and durable living environments with the added benefit of energy efficiency. Air sealing is a critical step towards net zero buildings. Using air pressure to automatically guide sealing guarantees the highest quality results in the least amount of time with the least amount of effort. If air sealing is important to you, you can visit Airtight Spaces at www.airtightspaces.com.
And we've had that conversation a lot.
Yeah.
And I think even with what our team, maybe we're doing our little part to have exposure and shed light on what it means to be in the industry. Just hear from so many different people, ongoing conversations.
Yeah.
I think every company's in the same boat.
And we had some senior people retire in the past couple of years too, right, Trav? And
That's a big thing too, right? The demographic shift.
tough to replace some
hard.
of those
Very hard, right?
people.
Yeah.
Well, gray hair, you can't replace the gray hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But that's the sad part now with social media. It's so easy. If somebody wanted another job next week, they can go out and find one. It's that easy.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, whatever it is, headhunters is just
Absolutely.
a frenzy.
Yeah. Some countries, the only way you get hired is LinkedIn. I mean, that's what you have to be on LinkedIn. You're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes it hard where eventually salaries are going to just keep climbing up because of that reason.
They're
you
such
gotta-
high demand, right?
yeah. And I look across, EllisDon is a company across Canada. It used to be certain markets were only hot markets. They're all hot now. People they're all just saturated, and people are hard to come by.
Right. So
we've done a couple internal joint ventures within areas of EllisDon because in order to staff certain projects. So we might have an Edmonton, Ottawa, Halifax joint venture on a project in Ottawa. So we would try to get 5 people to go work on this. Each area kind of contributes 5 people. So you're seeing a lot more of that kind of cooperation between areas within the company across the country. If there's a assistant super that wants to go to Toronto for 5 years and work on a project and then come back,
right.
That they can do that. So
But that's got to give you an advantage to the Atlantic GCs that are not operating outside and don't have the means of overflow,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge. I'm not sure how it's going to get better, but
well, do you think with what you see now on that side of the business, on that side of the industry, with the amount of people that are entering in engineering, the amount of people who are taking construction tech and NSCC, like if there's not enough estimators or not enough PMs and site supers now with experience, I mean, there's always guys coming up, right? There's always guys learning and that too. But do you see what's your intuition like as far as your position and your pulse? Like, what's your intuition on? Is it going to get better?
I see a good group coming, but there's still that gap between,
like they need another 5 years before they can go work on that project.
That's what I see. I don't know what you see.
No,
on your side,
100%. Yeah.
There's that gap that needs to be filled, right?
I was going to say we have, and I think like most companies, got a great bunch of people that are just missing that 5 to 10 years experience, and we get that like smart, energetic is what you want.
Yeah.
But and then
Lots of passion.
Lots of passion in our world when we're responding to proposals is they've got to have the experience in so many projects. Or going back to your healthcare proposals, were you a senior super on a project? Were you a senior PM on a project? It's like no, they'll all get there.
Yeah.
But it's going to take time.
We take a lot of co-ops now from Dal and UMB and wherever we can, NSCC.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I've never seen this before, but we're offering co-ops. If we find a good co-op student, they're getting a job offer, a year before they graduate, which is goes against how it was for me. But
Right. Yeah. You're jealous.
And just last week we had one that had a competing offer and turned
no
ours
doubt.
down. Like, what is going on here?
No doubt.
Well, that's even sight unseen before you see them for a day on work. Is the instructors are telling us, it's like, you got to offer them a job before that's finished, or they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, and that's just the way things are right now.
Yeah. So you're pretty much the same offer as the co-op offer as the full-time job offers coming out.
Yeah.
But that's key, getting this younger generation, not necessarily younger, but this next generation that's coming up through the NSCC and the engineering programs and stuff like that. Construction management is to get them, but there'll always be still that gap there. But so.
Yeah, I think that it is key, and I think it's interesting. When you made that comment, it made me think of, I grew up in the trades, not always easy to ask questions and, ask the older guys if you didn't know how to do something, but I'm talking from like a blue collar kind of standpoint. And then I've got some experience on the white collar side as well. The importance of, as leaders with a company such as EllisDon and Atlantic, to have an environment where the young and passionate, like you said, Travis, energetic, but they're, like you said, Shaun, there's a gap there, to see the different generations kind of working together. There's a lot of talk about like millennials and Gen X, sure, put people in boxes that way. They're different ages, and people think differently. They grew up at different time. Technology is different, that kind of stuff. But what conscious decisions or even corporate decisions do you see like being made as far as the culture, like to have that enmeshment of, the older generation kind of working with the younger and appreciating both sides and then them learning and like, can you speak on that at all? Does that make sense?
Well, are you asking kind of is it more of a mentorship question?
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
And is there specific kind of things that you've done or that EllisDon does sort of internally that enable that to happen, right? I mean, obviously you have apprentices working with journeymen and you have seniors working with, there's that kind of stuff too. But like, what's your feel for the openness for the older generation to take the time? Because sometimes you don't have the time. Yeah. You're always under the gun. You're always under pressure, and that goes from every level, right? Right from labor right on to the president or the chief estimator with a GC.
I think it's just part of our culture is openness.
Yeah.
Like, I'm struggling to find, like, even how busy we are. I think even some of the senior staff would always take the time to answer questions. And I know on our side was always promote, ask as many questions you have. Yeah. Even the co-ops, even if they don't stay.
Yeah, because someone's listening right now who is scared to ask questions, and then he hears someone like you say, "No, please," like you're happy when they're asking me, right? Because a lot of people won't ask. They're engaged. They care enough to ask.
Yeah. And I think that might be part of the hiring process too. Like, you get a feel for the person's personality and attitude. Like, they're going to ask questions. They want to learn.
Like, you shouldn't have to draw it out of them if it's
No, and we're always looking. I think back to the projects we do, Travis, and if we have an assistant super, we're always looking to see how can we make that assistant super take the next step.
Yeah.
Or the coordinator to the assistant super, or whatever.
Yeah.
We're always looking ahead. We are to.
Well, that's always the goal. Is you got that staff, get them up to the next level. Create supers, create PMs. That's just going to keep growing.
And it's up to our senior group to do that, right? It's up to our senior supers and our senior PMs to.
Yeah. But and then on the flip side, you have people that are content in the position where they are, and that's fine too.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're needed too, right?
Oh,
they're needed
100%,
too.
100%. But yeah, the ideal is when that person comes in and they just keep growing. And if it's out on site, if it's a coordinator to an assistant PM or assistant super, and then to a senior super or senior PM, that's great.
Yeah.
But it's all, you need that person above them that's going to be receptive to the questions and push the questions. And like Shaun says, be a mentor whenever they can.
Yeah. And those are intangible skills too, right? I mean, not every estimator is necessarily a good teacher, but if you have a good team and good people, like to have all those different sides, that holistic kind of employee that, is really skilled, educated at their profession, but also has all the intangible skills to teach and have the intuition with young people and how to, I just find like that's, you can't really measure the data on that, right? You can't get hard data on it, but the dividends probably are, that's what's maybe going to make the most difference.
Is that,
right?
is
The
that why you
different
left
generations.
estimating?
Pardon?
Is that why you left estimating?
Sometimes I have to get back into it.
Yeah, just to check up on it. What's going on with that one over there?
You get checked up on a lot.
Travis comes in to ask me to take off toilet accessories from time to time.
Expert at that.
It's not fooling
Point
anybody.
counts.
Team effort.
Yeah.
Team effort.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting. I just think it's an interesting industry. I'm sure it's the same in a lot of other industries, but maybe construction in general. You just have the different generations working together, a lot of different people from different backgrounds, and
Oh, I love seeing that when you got someone that's 60 or 70 years old and working with someone that's 22. It's great. Yeah.
And I think you definitely notice it in the Maritimes as far as
more so probably. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Other than labor shortage, what's some other big things that are kind of causing tension for you now, Shaun? I mean, there's all kinds of things all the time, but
That's
anything on the forefront, like other than that?
But aside from labor shortage,
Aside from that, yeah.
I always, obviously we can talk about inflation and construction costs, but I think there's a belief that, some owners think they're going to come down or level out or whatever. I don't think we're going to see that. I think they're here to stay. Travis, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's always my concern, is that going into some of these projects, the owners don't have the right budgets a lot of the time.
Right. So that's the biggest thing you're looking for.
That's one of the main
definitely
concern that I see.
How do you gauge the understanding if it's not a client that's recurring? The understanding and intuition with the construction side and the costs, and like that's got to be a process for you.
Yeah, you want to answer that one, Trav?
Say that again.
Like just to gauge a client's intuition with the construction side, I think, or correct me if I'm wrong, but take a developer for example. His job is you're dealing with financing and banks and just such a different landscape than actual building once it's time to put the hole in the ground.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at a client, it's obviously a lot of times a big group, public tenders and stuff, but that's at a battle to when it comes to, how much are things going to cost and how long are things going to take? I mean, these are the two questions you're constantly.
So I think we've lost a lot of projects being open and honest with giving just an opinion in the early stages.
Yep.
When an owner has a concept in their head of this project's going to cost X dollars, and maybe they have that number in their head from 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago. And at that stage, we're coming to the table. We have no engagement in the project. We have nothing to lose. More times than not, we'll give them our honest opinion on what it was, because more times than not, we've probably built something quite similar in the recent past, and give them a schedule and a budget on it. And it's usually, I shouldn't say usually, but we have in the past, they just give us the handshake and thank you for our time, and they move on.
Yeah.
And years down the way, we find out it went ahead and kind of ended up where we told them and how long it took. There was a project kind of at the end of COVID, and they had a budget that they published, and it was 5 years old. And that was the budget that they still wanted to work towards. And anyone in construction can tell you how bad escalation hit during COVID and past COVID, to know that 5 years, that number is just unrealistic. But we have those conversations on maybe a weekly basis of trying to maybe not defend, but explain why things cost the way they do right now. And luckily for us, we've got projects across Canada and so much going on locally that we can say, well, here's the cost, and this is why, and this is real data right now. And it's not always a pleasant conversation, but it's better to do it then before any money was spent.
What else for projects? Do we mention every project that we wanted to, or do you want to highlight anything else? Or
we were going to mention, we finished Dow thermal plant. Like a lot of people wouldn't know that we went in and spent how many years? 4 years at the Dow Housing University thermal plant. Phase by phase, renewing that. Did the same at St. Mary's.
Not as big,
Not
but
as
yeah,
big
down there as well.
Finished that this year.
So what type of projects are they again? Sorry, the thermal plant.
Yeah, go ahead, Travis. You worked on
I was going to say it's upgrading their heating systems.
Okay.
In that kind of that topic when you're talking just
So big mechanical overhaul and
little universities, institutes kind of be a little more greener, I guess.
yeah.
That might be a nice touch. Where at St. Mary's, we've been doing a lot of work down there. We have a nice project, kind of joining Loyola and the Sobeys building together. But at the same time, we're doing a big solar wall at Loyola, and that's kind of impressive too, because that's, at least for now, I believe it's still the tallest solar wall in North America. So it's a feather in our cap and St. Mary's at the same time.
Yeah, I remember reading something about that in recent months.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, that's a cladding.
Yes,
That's solar panels within the cladding,
exactly.
and then routed through the wall assembly, and it's powering and lighting the common areas, right?
Not exactly sure how much power it generates, but it's definitely supporting to serve Loyola. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I was up there last week on the roof watching them take off the old precast panels.
Right.
There.
Yeah.
It's quite a cool little project for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, you're on St. Mary's and Dalhousie then. That's
St. Mary's,
yeah.
Dal.
Well, you're doing lots on Dal, that's for sure.
So St. Mary's, Dal, UNB, NSCC.
Yeah.
And there's the new rink at Dal, right? That you're involved with. That's
The event center.
the event center. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's been put on a pause. So we're hopefully we'll hear something on that in the coming months. But
Yeah.
I think they need it. So fingers crossed that'll get the green light again, and we'll get a new arena. So they don't have to keep playing at the Forum.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Although it's got a lot of history there,
Yeah, it does. True.
but they're talking about doing something up there
That
anyway,
is true.
right?
Yeah. Exactly.
That'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah.
The DVA in Charlottetown, we mentioned that earlier, but it's got to employ like 1,000 people there in Charlottetown, right? I mean, that's one of the biggest.
After it's all renovated.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just mean like, most I mean, I'm from Prince Edward Island. A lot of business graduates, which I graduated with a BBA, would go and work at the DVA, and there's I think there's 1,000 people that are employed there, right? So,
Nice.
but it's kind of nice that this isn't a reno where it stays open. People work from home, and they have some other space in Charlottetown, the Department of Veteran Affairs, that while you're building there, which you're starting this month, I think, right?
Yeah, it'll be a pretty cool project. We're pumped.
That's a big reno.
Yeah, it's
100 million.
it's 98 million was our award, and we've chased stuff in Charlottetown. We haven't.
This will be our biggest PEI project.
Yeah, before that we built the.
Did you do anything UPEI?
We've tried to haven't no
Not in
yet.
my time. No.
No.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was going to say last thing we did was the wastewater treatment plant there
Okay.
in Charlottetown in 2005 or 6 or 7, something like that. But yeah, we're pretty excited to be going back. We were looking at the Stratford High School. We looked at the residents at UPEI. So we're always looking at certain things there. So
Looked at some solar stuff over there.
yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Yeah, like I was saying, being from PEI and being around Charlottetown, the DVA is definitely it's just kind of a cornerstone, for employment and
Yeah.
an old building though, right? And I think long overdue probably.
By the looks of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great location too. It's a great location downtown. Right?
Yeah, it is.
So,
yeah. So widening the corridors, a lot of big overhaul for all electrical, mechanical.
It's a massive overhaul for the whole building.
Yeah, and just gutting the whole place, and
I don't nothing's happening on the outside though, or is there?
Oh no, there's some on the outside as well.
Is there? Yeah. Okay.
Some cladding work, some window work.
Yeah.
And then Newfoundland is
We're if the right opportunity comes around, we'll look at something. But if a client asks us to go and do something, we probably would. But we're not actively. We have so much on the go here and in New Brunswick. It's just not a market we need to get into right now. So,
Yeah.
But
and things haven't been as busy
yeah.
in Newfoundland, the last 4 or 5, but and there's still stuff healthy, but
Yeah, exactly. So, and we built a few good projects there. Carbon-Air Long-Term Care. We built a residence at Memorial University.
yeah. So it's not like you haven't had a presence there in the past. It's just-
We did the Paradise 2 Pad Arena.
We had an office there up to not that long ago.
We did the Wedgwood Athletic Complex and then some other stuff. So we had some.
Yeah, and you definitely have an office in PEI there with just close to the DVA at least.
Oh yeah.
Might be a site killer for now, but we'll have a presence there for a while.
Yeah. So does that mean for you two gentlemen, making trips over
Absolutely.
that project, like monthly, quarterly?
Yeah, I would probably be up there every couple months.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I often you can edit this out if you have to. I get a lot of crap for not being on sites enough, but it's
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, but it's hard. It's hard to get.
It's
out
hard just to get out.
Yeah.
You probably enjoy a day when you can
I
go
do.
out. Yeah.
I do. And you get so busy in the office. I don't think people realize how much we're doing to try to win work and with the issues that are going on with other stuff or whatever's going on, it's just hard to, well, you saw how hard it was to book this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. Yeah.
No, but seriously, what you were saying, like
Yeah.
it's such a mental game, eh?
Yeah.
Such a mental stress, and then
Yeah.
just to be able to get out and
Yeah.
and probably talk to the guys. And
So I'm definitely looking forward to
Yeah.
being able to go to Charlottetown and be there and go see a cool project.
So for both of you in the industry for this long, with EllisDon for 10 years, Travis, 17 for you, Shaun.
Yeah.
Family men now, 3 kids, both of you have 3 kids. What excites you most for the industry? You know, if you're talking to the young people out there that are listening in that may be thinking about taking engineering instead of law, or thinking about going to NSCC for construction tech, or about getting into a trade. What would your comments be to them? Obviously, you know that things are busy and dive in, but other than that,
For sure.
I just think that, you know, the projects in the industry in general are so complex and big. You know, now we used to say that, you know, $100 million job was huge. That's not huge anymore for us. Like, I
Average.
look at the stuff we're doing across the country.
so much stuff, even Atlantic Canada, that's double that or triple.
Exactly.
that
Like
now.
a 50 million is an average size job now, and nothing's simple, right? Like, and I mean, an office building's an office building, but if you look at kind of the stuff that we do, they're all kind of complex, cool projects, right?
Yeah,
And
makes it exciting. Right?
yeah, and the technology now, you know, whether it's VR or you know, the 3D scanning and stuff that we do, like, it's just
that should draw more young people
building
to the industry
sciences
too,
and the
right?
whole envelope and all that
Yes.
stuff is
Yeah.
really cool.
Even the gear that for testing.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you're pretty nerdy, but I
Yeah.
can geek out on that
No,
stuff all the time.
it's just so different than it was
Yeah.
even 10 years ago, right?
That's-
Yeah.
It's just
Exponential change, right?
It's funny, everything he said. I went and talked to students at the NSCC course a few weeks ago, and that was exactly kind of promoting EllisDon, of course.
Yeah.
And the big push was the complex projects, the unique projects, the cool projects. But on top of that was putting it back on them, because we're kind of at the forefront of it in software technology, asking them what they're learning, what they're doing. And I find they're kind of even maybe a little behind of where the industry is on technology and software. But that's the stuff that's going to be, it's kind of cool and impressive. But you need the kind of complex and bigger projects to incorporate it into it.
Yes.
But it makes it exciting for sure.
and that's what it is. You have to make it exciting. And I say this to our engineering co-op students, and I say it to whatever professor I can talk to still, saying, you know, how are you guys talking about construction to your students? Because, you know, there's probably not getting as much interest as other avenues. And I try to explain how, you know, technology and how exciting it is and how cool the projects are. And it's you know, you gotta sell it a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, even locally, like the architects and designers are pushing the limit. So what they're building, like when you look at the library here and
Yeah.
the Nova Center, like locally, you don't have to go far for.
No, yeah. Look at the
cool-
Halifax Library. I mean, there's not an
Yeah.
adjacent line in the whole
Nice.
building.
No.
It's the
Nice
architecture.
projects.
Yeah, Fowler and Mitchell. That was a CM for EllisDon.
Yeah.
You guys seem to be involved in a lot of those.
Yeah.
So back to the technology thing. When it comes to project management, you mentioned software. It's a big thing for estimating, whether it's Bluebeam, and there's so many options out there. I say Bluebeam. There's lots of others. Is it FieldWire that you're still using?
So as a
EllisDon?
whole, our EllisDon uses FieldWire,
Right.
not so much in the estimating side.
Right.
We're making a switch to Costex would be
Okay.
our go-to for estimating. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've been like many Excel has been our go-to for years and years. but
Excel,
we're-
yeah.
We're trying to catch up with the times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I still do that sometimes myself. You know, I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
You know, it's
We
it doesn't have the integration, but it still gets done what you need. So.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we have our own kind of proprietary system within EllisDon for all the
Mhm.
all managing everything called Gate 3.
Right. Yeah.
So-
I remember seeing
yeah,
that
yeah.
in emails. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that's our thing, and it's been going well.
Yeah. What's Shaun and Travis? What's exciting you now about the coming years? And I'm sure EllisDon has lots of work on the books and lots of things coming up.
Yeah, we do, and there's lots coming up. So the future really excites me on some of these cool projects that are coming up. So we're waiting on probably close to $1 billion worth of work right now, and the pipeline doesn't seem to be slowing down. And we're still a small market with a lot of general contractors, and I think there's plenty of work for everyone to go around as well, right?
Really,
So,
you feel that then too, that
yeah.
there's plenty of work for all the GCs that are presently.
I do.
With their own kind of niche, their own projects that they're kind of specialized in.
And I would guess that the other GCs are like us. You're kind of picking and choosing the right opportunity, what you're looking at. So you're not looking at everything that moves right now.
There's no time.
You really
Well, it's staff as well.
Yeah.
You got to be picky and choosy. Yeah.
So yeah, the future is looking really good. So we're just excited to hopefully pick up a few more of these major opportunities and kind of ride the wave. So
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
even the projects we talked about that were EllisDon projects, and then there's all kinds of others that were built by others, but there's a lot of complex kind of showpiece projects being built right now, whether it's the new Waterford hub in Cape Breton or it's the stuff downtown Halifax, endless stuff on the waterfront, DVA Reno and PEI, there's all kinds of stuff in New Brunswick, and just lots of exciting builds.
I look at the stuff we're doing, even the Sydney waterfront. Like you have to go up there and see the building. Like it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, this NSCC campus.
Yeah,
right?
the NSCC campus, and the stuff we're doing with the universities is just. I don't know when we'll ever see this kind of work kind of come out like it has.
It's an exciting time, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so as far as like your focus to keep up this $1 billion worth of work, coming down the road in the next however so many future years, just to kind of keep the foot on the gas and kind of make sure we're recruiting and doing the right things, kind of having our pulse and
exactly build the brand and keep our staff happy and
build the staff
and build that next generation of staff
right.
too, right? So
fill that gap.
That's my kind of key focus over the next few years. I can't retire yet.
Not anytime soon. Not with what we were talking about here today.
I'm ready. If it wasn't money,
he's got this look on his face like he's like, yeah, I'm getting out now. Oh no, that's it's exciting to hear. It's exciting to hear that from both of you and from EllisDon, that there's just another sign that there's always going to be issues, whether it's labor shortage and all kinds of technology that needs to be adopted and things like that, but so many things to be excited about at the same time, and it's a great industry to be in, a good time to be in it, I think, and that's what
100%
the feeling we get. And
100%.
So we just want to thank you, Shaun, and thank you, Travis. It's been an honor to have EllisDon to be part of the podcast, and touched on some great topics and lots of exciting projects that have happened in the past and happening currently and going to happen in the future for EllisDon. So
Perfect.
Yeah, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
This episode is brought to you by Cook Insurance, your trusted insurance broker in Atlantic Canada for 50 years. Insurance is complex, and the Cook team focuses on delivering comprehensive solutions for your construction needs, including builder's risk, wrap-up liability, performance bonds, and project-specific construction. A Navicord partner since 2020, Cook is one of the largest construction brokers in Canada and offers national strength with a local touch. Whatever your insurance needs are, Cook has you covered.
The team at Atlantic Construction Podcast have been able to build a strong relationship with the folks over at FCA Surety. FCA Surety is heavily engaged in supporting the Atlantic construction marketplace and helping contractors to build their businesses, and we can't recommend them enough. While FCA has their head office in Ontario, many of the members of their team have lived in Atlantic Canada and worked in the construction community here. This gives them a unique national perspective with a local flavor. Andrew Cartwright leads FCA's national surety operations as Vice President of Surety. Their knowledge of the bonding marketplace and understanding of how insurance companies view your business is unparalleled. In addition, the depth of their team and reach across Canada gives them the ability to draw on numerous experiences to help clients navigate items like subtrade, construction disputes, liens, and supplier risk management. These are the things that separate FCA Surety from the pack. Make sure to give the guys a call over at FCA Surety for all of your bonding and surety needs.